There's a shadow side to love that most men never see coming. Carl Jung knew it. He studied it. And what he discovered about certain women and the unconscious patterns they trigger in men might completely change how you see your relationships. Stay with me because this gets deep, and it might just save you from repeating the same painful cycle over and over again. Jung talked about something he called the anima. It's the feminine energy that lives inside every man's unconscious mind. It's shaped by your mother, your early experiences with women, the fairy tales you heard as a child, and every romantic movie you've ever watched. And here's where it gets interesting. Your anima doesn't just sit there quietly. She projects outward. She colors how you see women. She whispers in your ear about who's attractive and who's not. She pulls you toward certain types without you even realizing why. Now this is where the dark truth comes in. Some women, whether they know it or not, become experts at triggering your anima. They mirror back the exact feminine archetype your unconscious is desperately seeking. The nurturing mother, the wild goddess, the damsel in distress, the mysterious enchantress. And when a woman unconsciously or consciously embodies that specific energy your anima craves, you don't just feel attraction. You feel completion. You feel like you've found the one, like she's been written into your destiny. But Jung warned us about something crucial. When you're caught in an anima projection, you're not actually seeing the real woman in front of you. You're seeing your own unconscious fantasy. You're in love with a psychological projection, not a person. And this is where men get destroyed emotionally. Because the woman you think you're falling for doesn't actually exist. She's a combination of your unmet needs, your childhood wounds, and your unconscious desires all wrapped up in a real person's body. Certain women learn how to play into this, not always maliciously. Sometimes it's just survival. Sometimes it's their own wounds seeking validation. They become shapeshifters. They sense what your anima wants and they give you just enough of it to keep you hooked. They'll be nurturing when you need a mother, seductive when you need passion, vulnerable when you need to feel like a hero. And because it touches something so deep and unconscious in you, you mistake this mirroring for soulmate connection. You think it's fate. You think it's love. But really, it's psychology. And here's the painful part. When the projection inevitably breaks, when you start seeing the real woman underneath your fantasy, it feels like betrayal. It feels like she changed, but she didn't change. You just woke up. Your conscious mind finally caught up to what was always there, and now you're left feeling foolish, heartbroken, and confused about how you could have been so blind. Jung said that the journey to psychological maturity for a man involves withdrawing these projections. It means learning to see women as they actually are, not as your unconscious needs them to be. It means doing the inner work to understand your own anima, to dialogue with her, to integrate her wisdom without projecting her onto every woman who stirs something in you. Because until you do that work, you'll keep falling for the same type. You'll keep getting hurt by women who feel like magic at first and chaos later. You'll stay trapped in a cycle of idealization and disappointment. The women who are most dangerous in this dynamic are the ones who've learned to weaponize the anima projection. They might have grown up learning that their worth comes from being what men want. They might be running from their own shadows by losing themselves in yours. They become performers in a play you didn't know you were directing. And because the chemistry feels so electric, because the connection feels so deep, you won't see the red flags. You'll ignore your friends' concerns. You'll dismiss your own doubts. You'll sacrifice your boundaries and your peace because walking away feels like losing a part of your soul. But what you're really losing is an illusion. And Jung would tell you that's exactly what needs to die for real love to be born. Real love isn't about finding someone who perfectly matches your unconscious fantasy. It's about two whole people seeing each other clearly, shadows and all, and choosing to build something real together. It's about attraction that's rooted in reality, not projection. It's about intimacy that comes from genuine knowing, not unconscious neediness. So, how do you protect yourself from falling into this trap? First, you have to get to know your own anima. What type of woman consistently makes you lose your mind? What qualities make you feel instantly drawn in? What wounds from your past are you still trying to heal through romantic love? These aren't random preferences. They're psychological patterns, and once you understand them, you gain power over them. You stop being a puppet to your unconscious and start making conscious choices about love. Second, slow down. The intensity you feel with certain women isn't proof of destiny. It's often proof of projection. Real compatibility takes time to reveal itself. It emerges through consistency, through seeing someone in different contexts, through weathering challenges together. If you're feeling obsessed after 3 dates, that's not love. That's your anima going wild. Take a breath. Get grounded. See who this person actually is when the projection fog clears. Third, pay attention to whether she's encouraging your growth or feeding your fantasy. A woman who's operating from her own wholeness will challenge you to see her clearly. She won't play into your idealization. She'll show you her full humanity, flaws included, and invite you to love the real her. But a woman who's trapped in her own unconscious patterns will keep the fantasy alive. She'll give you just enough mystery, just enough distance, just enough of what you're projecting to keep you chasing. And that chase will drain your soul. Jung believed that our relationships are mirrors. They reflect back the parts of ourselves we haven't integrated yet. So when you keep attracting the same type of woman, when you keep ending up in the same painful dynamics, it's not because you're cursed or unlucky in love. It's because there's something in you that needs to be seen, understood, and healed. The woman who keeps breaking your heart isn't your enemy. She's your teacher. She's showing you exactly where your unconscious is still running the show. The dark truth Jung discovered is that love isn't what we think it is. Most of what we call love is actually unconscious need, projection, and the desperate attempt to feel whole through another person. But the beautiful truth he also discovered is that once you become conscious of these patterns, once you do the work to integrate your anima, you become capable of something much deeper. You become capable of seeing and loving a real woman, not a fantasy. You become capable of being seen and loved for who you really are, not just the hero role you're trying to play. This isn't easy work. It requires brutal honesty with yourself. It requires sitting with the uncomfortable truth that maybe you've never really been in love with any of the women you thought you loved. Maybe you've been in love with your own projections. Maybe you've been using women as mirrors to avoid looking directly at your own soul. That's a hard pill to swallow, but it's also the beginning of freedom. Because on the other side of this awakening is the possibility of real connection, not the fireworks kind that burns out fast, not the obsessive kind that feels like addiction, but the steady, deep, nourishing kind that actually lasts. The kind where two people see each other's shadows and choose to stay anyway. The kind where you're not constantly disappointed because you never expected her to be perfect in the first place. The kind where love is a practice, not a feeling. A choice, not a projection. So here's what I want you to take away from this. If you find yourself constantly attracted to women who feel like they complete you, that's your anima talking. If you keep falling hard and fast for women who seem to embody everything you've been looking for, slow down and check for projection. If your relationships follow a pattern of intense beginnings and painful endings, there's unconscious material you need to explore. And if you want to break free from this cycle, you have to be willing to do the inner work that Jung pointed toward. Get to know your anima. Understand your patterns. Learn to separate projection from reality, and most importantly, become whole enough within yourself that you're not desperately seeking completion through a woman. Because the truth Jung discovered is this: the woman who can truly love you won't fit your fantasy. She'll shatter it. And in that shattering, if you're brave enough to stay present, you'll discover something far more valuable than the perfect anima projection. You'll discover real love. If this resonated with you, if you've experienced this cycle and you're ready to understand it deeper, hit that like button. Subscribe because we're going deep into the psychology of love and relationships on this channel. And drop a comment below. Tell me, have you ever fallen for a projection? Have you ever looked back on a relationship and realized you were in love with who you thought she was, not who she actually was? Let's talk about it. Because the more conscious we become about these patterns, the more power we have to create the love we actually deserve. I'll see you in the next one.